So, the Nintendo Switch has been going on for 6, nearly 7 years, and there have been game after game after game. But which year is the best one? You often hear 2017 being the killer year with all the launch titles like Breath of the Wild, then Mario Odyssey later on, and Xenoblade 2 and Mario Kart, and absolutely it is one of the best years out there. However, I think you can debate that some years are better. Maybe one of us would choose 2017, I don't know. But, guys, we're going to be debating this. We've got a live audience here with us to come along for the journey, and if you wanted to join them, you can via our Patreon. But let's just start this off. I've got a roulette wheel with all of our names on it, and the first person to be chosen by the wheel will be debating which year is the best year. Are you guys ready?
Ready?
Maybe, kind of, sort of. Yeah, let's go. Let's do it.
I'm
Jump
looking
in.
over my year. I'm like, you know what? If the more I look at it, the more I feel pretty confident in choosing this one. I got a good I got some good arguments to go for.
Yeah, and it's worth saying, even if someone chooses the year that you wanted to choose, you cannot debate that year. They've chosen that year, so there's no doubling down. All right, let's go. The first person to talk will be Derek Bittner.
Oh, there you go.
All right.
I get to claim the best year, obviously. So we compiled a list thanks to Ash and John going through and bringing out a bunch of the games. And I was looking through, and it's one of those things where you have some standout releases in certain years. Like each year has that one game. It's like, damn, that's a good game. That can make it a good year just on its own. But I wanted consistency. And that's what I really looked for when I was going through all these years. And the one I landed on was actually 2021, which wouldn't seem like the one you'd think of right off the bat, I think. But I want to call this year the year of making the impossible possible, because we got so many amazing games that you would just not expect to get. We got the Famicom Detective Club 1 and 2. Maybe not a huge hit, but the fact that we got that kind of legacy back, amazing. We got a good Mario Party with Superstars actually doing what we want, to the fact that we demanded DLC. Never got it, but we demanded DLC because we enjoyed it so much. Got what the top 100 should have been. We got an actual honest-to-God sequel to The World Ends With You, an honest-to-God sequel to Pokemon Snap, an honest-to-God sequel to No More Heroes. They finally got Shin Megami Tensei 5 there. And then making things available that were not available before, like Great Ace Attorney, Chronicles actually getting localized with a brand new translation, getting even more support for the NSO with Pac-Man 99, getting an HD version of Skyward Sword, and then the Game of the Year came out this year, and still one of my absolute favorite games on Switch, Metroid Dread. This is such a great year, and there's even games on here that I've not played, but I know they help push the Switch forward. Big one, Monster Hunter Rise and Monster Hunter Stories 2 both came out this year, and those were big system sellers. Monster Hunter Rise is amazingly popular for the system. It just really pushed it forward. And then we just got all kinds of like oddities as well, just fun little things here and there. Like Cruisin' Blast came out this year. We got Banana Mania for Super Monkey Ball. We got Bowser's Fury for Super Mario 3D World. We got a new WarioWare with Get It Together. And then just like a Bravely Default 2, the Castlevania Advance Collection, Crash Bandicoot 4. There's a lot of really good, consistent games here. I think where it falters, as far as like where you guys might be able to argue against 2021, is the fact that it doesn't have like that big genre-defining hit. It doesn't have a Breath of the Wild or a Tears of the Kingdom or a Mario Odyssey or what have you, like that big game that everybody is like talking about and just changes the shape of the industry, really. There's no games like that. But I think as far as pure consistency and pure fun, this is one of the best years out there for Switch. Like it is just all around some really great ideas, some great ports, some great games that you would not expect to actually get there. Unfortunately, kind of the weakest year for Pokemon with Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, but that's one thing I sort of
it didn't last long
one.
though, because like it was within those 12 months, 3 mainline Pokemon games came out. Like,
right.
Legends
It just,
like months
it
away.
just happened to be that one
Yeah.
that wasn't able to take advantage of it. But I think otherwise, like there's good variety here. There's a lot of innovate, like again, possible sequels or impossible releases. Heck, we got a new Ghosts and Goblins that year.
Right.
Like, who would have guessed that?
Derek, don't lie.
Well,
you really just picked 2021 because of Castlevania Advance Collection. Don't
I mean,
lie.
yeah.
We know.
Whatever year had the DS collection would have won, but we haven't gotten that yet.
Right.
So.
Maybe
Right.
this year. Yeah, my heart
year.
dropped when you chose this, Derek, because this was my number one as well.
Oh,
wow.
Hey, great minds think alike.
Such a
There
damn
you go.
cool year. Like it's just it's not necessarily the best year, but it's the coolest year. It's got so many games that you would never expect to come. So many, as you said, impossible releases. And also one of the highest rated games on Metacritic with The House in Fata Morgana, which is a visual novel that for a long time overtook Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one.
Right.
Yeah, just it has so much variety. I think if you are someone who's deep into games, this is probably one of the best years out there. I think for a lot of like just the broader consumer, not so much. But if you are a huge Nintendo fan, been following them for years and years, then there's no doubt this is one of the coolest years that the Switch could possibly have.
It is a really good year. I agree. I mean, just Metroid Dread alone, just the lore behind that Journey's game to release, the fact that Metroid Dread is real and it became real in 2021, that's always going to be a huge thing. This was also the year that we got Famicom Detective Club in the West, which is really cool. Steve and I got to review those, had a good time with that, and I'm going to keep hounding you until you play it, Derek. Blaster Master 03 was one of the indie highlights of this year.
I mean,
it's a fantastic game, and we also got kind of a potential kiss of the future of 3D Mario with Bowser's Fury, and that was kind of fun too. So it's Great Age of Trinity Chronicles, as you said, phenomenal game. It's great that we finally got those two games in the West, and my wife and I sure had a blast playing with them, or playing through them. And it's hard to argue. It's 2021. It wasn't my choice, so I can't necessarily share that with John. I can't say, "Oh man, that was my choice." It wasn't, but. Like
we can't
most
all
of
have
these
good
years,
taste.
Exactly, yeah, right. But like pretty much any of these years, honestly, it's very hard to argue against them because the Switch has had so many good years.
Yeah.
So it's hard to argue against 2021. I think it's a good pick.
Yeah, if only you could have gotten a Xenoblade release in there. Most other Switch years has a Xenoblade release in there. I had to pick the one that doesn't, but that's just how good the year is otherwise.
Yeah, like whether it's a main game or an expansion, pretty much every year has one. Yeah. Well, Ash, I'm hoping you don't choose my other pick. Let's roll the wheel again and we'll see who's going next.
Man, okay.
Okay, it's spinning. Don't land on Derek again. Okay, it's me. Okay, Ash, you can't take it this time.
I'm going last. Okay.
Okay, so I was racking my head around for what I would choose, and if Derek hadn't chosen it, I would have gone for 2021. However, I think the second strongest year, in my opinion, is one that sort of introduced variety pretty early on. So 2017 was a great year. It really pushed the Switch forward, and it launched with some of the biggest games possible, and they are all incredible. Whether it is Xenoblade 2 or Splatoon 2 or Breath of the Wild or Mario Odyssey, there's no debating that is one of the strongest years out there. However, I think 2019 was where a lot of variety and cool factor came in. So we are talking games like Dragon Quest XI-S, a portable version of one of the best RPGs of that generation, made even better. There's Dragon Quest Builders 2, I think one of the most underrated games on the entire platform. We're getting some awesome things like Collection of Mana as well, finally giving us Trials of Mana in the West. But then there's also just some real milestone announcements and releases, like Final Fantasy, the PlayStation games, finally left PlayStation exclusivity and came to Nintendo. 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 all came to Switch. Then there's also some huge games like Luigi's Mansion 3, which really set the world on fire and sold like 13 million copies. Tetris 99, one of my favorite games on the entire platform. I'm still playing it today. Link's Awakening Remake. We've got stuff like the Ori and the Blind Forest leaving Xbox as well. This is just a cool year for exclusivity rules being broken, which was just awesome. Fire Emblem Three Houses as well. It really did reignite Fire Emblem's popularity. Awakening sort of did that on 3DS, but Three Houses set things on fire. You can't really go to a cosplay event without seeing Three Houses characters in there. Cadence of Hyrule, one of the coolest Zelda games. An indie developer made a Zelda game. Blaster Master Zero 2, another awesome game. Astral Chain as well. Like Platinum Games, they announced Bayonetta 3 really early on. I think in 2017 they announced it. And then Astral Chain came out of nowhere. A totally new IP. and it was just dripping with radiance and coolness. And yeah, that's another one of the most underrated games on the system. Box Boy came back. I always loved Box Boy. And I think it's just a really cool year for ports as well. Like Castlevania Anniversary Collection came along. And we got like Grandia HD, Grandia on the Go. That's awesome too. Mario Maker 2, which was a bit of a slow start, but I think it's actually a really cool game by the end with like the Zelda update and the world update. It doesn't always get credit for how good it got down the line. And while Labo, I think, is generally kind of like okay, Labo VR's software is actually legitimately very good. There's some great games in that kit. And then another like really weird thing is, to this day, Marvel Ultimate Alliance is exclusive to Switch, the third one. That was
so weird.
What happened there? It was like it's not like a cult classic game or anything, but it's like a pretty popular game from the PS2 era that was enjoyed on so many platforms, and suddenly Nintendo just snagged it, and they've never given it back. Untitled Goose Game it came along and shuffled everyone's opinions on Goose. And I think all around 2019 was just a great year that built upon what 2017 did. 2018 was kind of a buffer year with lots of ports and DLC games, but 2019 brought things back with huge releases like Dragon Quest. 2019, one of my favorite Switch years.
I'm sorry, John. Did you just call the year Super Smash Bros. Ultimate came out a buffer year? Just want to make sure I have
2018 had good stuff, okay?
It had good
and to be
stuff,
fair, it did come out in the last
honest.
month of... No, it came out
There's
in the last
a
month
lot
of
of ports that year.
Yeah.
No, I'm being facetious.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you're... Again, it's so hard to argue against any of these years. 2019, another great year. You basically went over all the great stuff already. But Dragon Quest XI-S is one of my favorite JRPGs of all time. Period.
Right.
Bar none. Hands down. And then you got other great stuff like Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair came out this year. And that is one of the biggest, best surprise sequels to anything that I've ever enjoyed. That game was so much better than I think anyone thought it would be. And it was so good. It was such a great highlight of that year. Bloodstained came out this year, Collection of Mana. I mean, and this was the first time, by the way, that we got a localized Trials of Mana, Seiken Densetsu 3. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I remember being really excited about that. FF7, 8, 9, 10, 10-2, 12, all coming to the Switch. And that's one thing I think is such a incredible, unique strength about the Switch, is that it offers so many new modern games, but also such a great wide selection of classic games from every console generation.
Yeah, that would never on Nintendo.
In a handheld format, if you want. And so it's really that's one of the Switch's unique appeals, I think. And 2019 really capitalizes on that strength, I think.
Another thing too, like this was the year that gave us other kart races. So Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, brilliant game, but it's also an old game. Whereas this year we got both Team Sonic Racing, which was okay, but also Crash Team Racing, which was very, very good.
Until they put in all the
until they ruined it, but during 2019 it was very good.
Why do these other companies insist on putting microtransaction crap in their kart racers?
I don't know.
It happened to Chocobo Racing as well.
Chocobo GP. That's such a shame how that went down.
Yeah, I didn't mention Yoshi's Crafted World. I thought it was okay.
It's just okay. Pokemon Sword and Shield, I think, is also a big deal because it was just the first mainline Pokemon on the system.
Yeah.
It did give a hint of where the series could go with it being a bit more wide open at least a little bit. It was a big deal. It sold very well. So that proved that Pokemon could still be strong, especially because I believe this is their first Pokemon on technically a console.
We had Let's Go, but like this was the first like new generation.
Right. This felt new.
Yeah.
And I can't argue against 11S. Like, I'm with Ash. It's just so good. It's still one of my favorite games on the system. I'd have to relook at a lot of stuff now with so much else of coming out since. But yeah, it's still up there. It's just one of those best experiences. I mean, I think the previous years, definitely put this forward, but this cemented the idea that this is just the Switch is the best place for just games of all generations, as you guys have said. It just got Phoenix Wright, we got Final Fantasy, we got our Konami arcade classics and Castlevania and Contra all being on there. Xbox is putting stuff on there like Cuphead and Ori. and we got. I'll mention it. Daemon X Machina. That was
Someone's got to say it.
It's something that I played it. It's not bad, but it's also did not stand out. It's like just the rest of this year kind of overshadowed it. And I think the same could be said of New Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe, which
odd release.
That came and went. It might have sold well. I don't know, but it as far as any kind of conversation,
it's one of the best-selling games on the Switch. It's like in the top 10.
Of course, it is.
It sold more than Mario Maker 2.
Yeah, it's just no conversation around it. But yeah. Gee, I wonder if Super Mario Wonder is going to do very well.
We'll see. Yeah. It's also worth noting, we've talked a lot about Dragon Quest, 11S and Builders 2, fantastic games, but also 1, 2, and 3 got ported on the same day as 11S. And they're not the most remarkable ports.
Please give us 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah. They're not the most remarkable ports, but it's cool that we have Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, 10, 10, 2, 12, and Dragon Quest 1, 2, 3, 11, and Builders 2, and Builders 1 from previous year. But,
kind of establish it, and with Groundia, just establishing it as a good RPG machine. And
right.
Really, Three Houses saved Fire Emblem once again. Awakening did it the first time. Three Houses did it the second time because Fates very quickly ruined its reputation, I'd say. And then I recovered for hardcore fans, I'd say, with the Gaiden remake, Shadows of Valentia.
Yeah. But
Three Houses where it went back into the popularity of everyone again.
Totally. Now, Ash, do we spin the wheel again for you? Or So 2019, 2021 have been taken. What is your best year?
I've been secretly happy that we keep talking since I'm still stalling here. But no, so what I can say is definitively, as much as I love both those years, neither of those were my choice. Not well, at least not one of the ones that I'd kind of narrowed it down to. So for me, I was just saying how I think one of the coolest things about the Switch is how you have a combination of modern games, retro games from almost, maybe every console generation, really, and then great indie games, too. It's a triple threat. It does all three so well. And so for my year, it doesn't necessarily have any genre-defining, norm-busting releases like Derek was saying for 2021, but it has a great, in my opinion, maybe the best combination of all three of those pillars I just mentioned, and that is 2022. Now, of course, this is going to be tailored to your personal tastes, of course, but for 2022, you got the three threes. You got great sequels in three big series: Bayonetta 3, Splatoon 3, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3, which was my game of the year last year, and just was so incredibly impactful to me. So, I mean, of course, there's Xenoblade Chronicles 3, but then you've got some like really cool out of nowhere stuff, like the Live Alive remake, right? Kirby and the Forgotten Land, which is maybe the best Kirby game ever. It's so incredibly good. And then you've got stuff like TMNT, Shredder's Revenge, Triangle Strategy, Tunic. It's like I said, it's a great year for indies too, with games like Tunic. Neon White, of course, came out this year. River City Girls 2 also came out. Infernax, Chained Echoes, great RPG. Infernax came out this year from the developer of Just Shapes and Beats. I really like that game. I said River City Girls. Young Souls also came out this year. Really good indie game. But then you've also got a lot of really cool, just surprise ports from various console generations for this year. So you've got like Capcom Fighting Collection. You've got Chrono Cross, the Radical Dreamers edition, which also comes with an officially localized version of Radical Dreamers, which is just out of nowhere how cool that is. And then you got, of course, there's the various cloud versions, which is not necessarily a good thing.
Count those.
We got all the cloud versions of Kingdom Hearts and Resident Evil. So,
however, I will say though, but what I will argue in favor of that is that if you literally don't or can't own any other platforms, period, you never will for whatever reason. Let's just say you can't, don't have the money, whatever. You do technically have access to a lot of really great games between the whole Kingdom Hearts series and RE2, 3, 7, and Village. Are they the best ways to play them? Not even close. But they are there if you don't have any other way to play them, and I think that's pretty damn cool. You've got, and again, other cool little one-off games like Kirby's Dream Buffet. And then this is the year that we got Persona 5 Royal on Switch. It will be followed by 4 and 3 this year. But Persona 5 Royal, we got Sonic Frontiers, Sonic Origins, which, despite its issues, I think is a pretty damn great collection of, classic Sonic games. I mentioned Triangle Strategy. I mean, for me, while necessarily 2022 doesn't have the best single release ever on the Switch necessarily, I think it does all those three pillars that I mentioned very well, and maybe overall the best, in my opinion, of all the years. It's really hard. It's hard to argue against anything. But again, Klonoa. We got Klonoa on the Switch in 2022. That's so damn cool. Right next to Live Alive Remake. And again, more new stuff like Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope came out. And we got a really nice revival of Pokemon this year with 2 Pokemon games, Pokemon Legends Arceus and Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. And I know, Scarlet and Violet had major technical issues, but it's actually the game that brought me back into the Pokemon fold. I really liked Gen 9, despite its technical problems. So, I don't know, for me, this year just kind of encapsulates all 3 of those pillars I mentioned very, very well. And I think it's overall the best balanced and just consistent year for me.
I want to shout out 2 other ports and one sort of gem of that year. So, Nier Automata is like the best port in the entire system. How the hell did they get that running? Like, it runs at 1080p, the frame rate is at 30, but it plays so damn well. And then we also got the Portal Companion Collection. That was out of nowhere. Portal was not on any other modern platform apart from Steam, and they just put it on Switch out of nowhere.
Just out of nowhere. Yeah, it's that Switch effect. It's everybody realizing the Switch effect. Like Mortal Kombat, I forget the year when it happened, but Mortal Kombat 11 got put on Switch, and it's not the best version at all, but it sure did sell a lot of copies.
Yeah.
Same with Dragon Ball FighterZ. It's like you put a game on the Switch, it's going to sell well. It's why these cloud versions kind of make sense for that way. It's because people just like buying games on the Switch to have it on the go. Not always the best version, of course, but sometimes they can knock it out of the park, like Nier Automata. And there's also some oddities in here, like Nintendo Switch Sports. We thought that would be such a bigger deal, and it just ended up being nothing.
It did sell pretty well, but it wasn't like it wasn't Wii Sports. Yeah.
No. And to be fair, there are some other clunkers, like Mario Strikers Battle League didn't go anywhere. Sparks of Hope was a little bit mixed, I think.
But Rayman's coming this month, and he's going to change everything.
Yeah. That's true.
Good DLC, too, because we got the Cuphead's Delicious Last Course and Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak.
Yeah. Sunbreak's basically another game. Big shout out to Harvestella as well. It doesn't get talked about much, but it's such I guess there's a big pool of sort of farming games out there, but it's probably the coolest one of the bunch.
Yeah. It's very, very solid in that way. And yeah, you're right. There is a very good range of games here. Even got another Fire Emblem Warriors games out of nowhere, 3 Hopes, which I've not had a chance to play, but I enjoyed the demo.
Yeah, and Return to Monkey Island, also very, very cool game.
Yes.
Yeah. I think the thing 2022 lacks, kind of like what you were saying for 2021, Derek, is that single genre-defining release that is just like, whoa, where did this is crazy. Like, a lot of the big new games this year are iterative, like, Splatoon 3, Bayo 3, Xenoblade 3. They're all sequels, which is fine. But they're all, well, I can't speak for Bayo 3 because it was very, very mixed reaction, but Splatoon and especially Xenoblade 3 are top-class sequels, even if they are iterative. It doesn't have that single release like Tears of the Kingdom that's like, oh my god, so defining. But at the same time, it hits so hard on all 3 of those pillars. New releases, ports, like retro classic ports, and indie games. It just has such a great spread of all those things, I think.
Absolutely. So those are our picks. I just want to talk about the other years a little bit, not in as much depth. But I think one of the reasons that 2017 is so revered is it very quickly put out all the big pillars. Usually with most Nintendo consoles, you're waiting the entire generation to get, like, Mario Kart, Smash, 3D Mario, Zelda, but they all came, and Smash was 2018, but they pretty much all came just month after month, just continuous big release after big release. And while they are system-defining and obviously extremely high quality, I do personally believe that other years have surpassed 2017.
Yeah, because you look through and you see those pillars and they stand out so well, but we look around the other ones, it's like they're good, but I think there's games that are better that have come since. I think 2017 is important for two big reasons beyond even just the big pillars coming out. The first is establishing indie dominance. This is the year that really showed like indies can fill out those games in between and be super fun to play on the go. It's like, yes, I just want to play these games on my Switch. And the other one, of all things, Ultra Street Fighter 2, a game that is probably as low effort as possible on the part of Capcom, but proved to Capcom is like, oh, we should put more focus on the Switch because this game that we put not a lot of effort into all of a sudden sold extremely well. Let's put some effort in and get more games on there. And I think that's a huge thing that carried forth into the system's lifespan.
Capcom were the ones who demanded that the Switch have 4 gigs of RAM. Because it was originally going to have 2 gigs, but Capcom said, double it. And then they put out Ultra Street Fighter 2.
But then they took advantage of that with Monster Hunter Rise. So there you go.
In fairness, the RE engine did come to Switch with Monster Hunter Rise. Ghosts and Goblins runs on RE engine, and so does Ghost Trick for some reason.
Yeah.
They really have evolved that now. But it's funny that they made the specs go higher just to do Street Fighter 2.
I know. Fortunately, it would be followed up, the following year by Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection, which, the online sucks, but the collection of games in that whole series of ports is really fantastic. It is a definitive Street Fighter collection, really.
Right.
And so that's always great to have. And I do have to oh, go ahead, Derek.
I was going to say Capcom coming out hard with their collections after that, because not only just Street Fighter, but the Beat 'em Up bundle, Mega Man Legacy Collection and X Collection, and Mega Man 11. Like, holy crap,
I know.
Capcom.
Yeah. I was going to say, I have
Okami
to call
HD.
out 2018 as the year that we got 18 Mega Man games on Switch alongside Okami HD. I will always love 2018 for that. And of course, that Smash's year. But I almost hesitate to count it as Smash's year because it came out in December. So it's like, it was there for like a little less than 1 month, but it doesn't feel like a 2018 game to me, if that makes sense.
I do feel 2018 gets done a bit dirty. Like, it probably is the weakest year of the bunch. But I remember going through that year, like getting to December, and a lot of people being like, "Oh, this was such a bad year. There's nothing to play." And I was just rolling in games. Like, a lot of them were ports, but it was so cool to have them on the go.
Octopath Traveler.
Yeah, we had Octopath. Yeah. We had Celeste, which is probably still one of the best games of the generation.
Oh.
Dead Cells.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hollow Knight.
Good indie year.
Hollow Knight, yeah. And I will always bat for Mario Tennis Aces. I know not everyone loves it, but it's one of my favorite online games.
Was one of Nintendo's best DLC packs, Octo Expansion.
Yes, yeah. DLC was great that year. Torna was also that year.
Oh, yeah,
and as
Torna.
was the Donkey Kong expansion for Mario and Rabbids, which I think was better than the main game. Also, like Dark Souls portably, that was so cool. And Captain Toad actually went above and beyond. Like, Captain Toad on Switch has a lot of exclusive levels. There's the Odyssey stuff, but there's also like co-op. There's also a bunch of exclusive levels that aren't the Odyssey stuff. There's DLC. There's exclusive Labo VR things in Captain Toad. It's a weirdly robust port. Kirby Star Allies, not one of my favorites, but it was cool having Kirby back on a console because he pretty much skipped the Wii U outside of Rainbow Curse.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, yeah, 2018, another standout year. And one thing I do want to point out that I found interesting, I'm curious to hear what you guys think about this, is that 2022 was where I settled, but I came close-ish to really seriously considering 2023, even though the year isn't over yet.
Yeah,
it's not even over, and I'm looking at our list here.
I did not pick it because I want to see more of these games. We don't know everything, but
we don't know.
Damn, 2023 has been a good year. There's been a good year for all consoles, really, but Switch has had some solid stuff on here.
Yeah,
it's just August, and I'm looking at this list, and it's like, Theater Rhythm and Xenoblade Future Redeemed, Tears of the Kingdom, the FF Pixel Remaster Series, Battle Network Legacy Collection, like Octopath Traveler 2, Persona 3 and 4. But then we got in red.
After all this time,
Bomb Rush Cyberpunk just
came out today,
which came out today. But then I look at the games we have listed in red, which of course are the ones that haven't come out yet, and it's pretty hard to imagine that most of these games aren't going to turn out to be great.
Oh yeah, they're all going to be
Mario Wonder, Mario RPG Remake, Star Ocean 2 Remake, Sonic Superstars. Like, I had to fight not to really maybe pick 2023.
There's a reason a lot of people consider 2023 to be a sequel to 2017. It just hitting all those marks that year hit as well, and it's super solid. But I was like, I need to give more time because, man, Tears of the Kingdom, I haven't even finished it yet, but man, that is a compelling argument alone.
Yeah, there's no definitive game of the year this time. I think anyone can pick any one of these games here, and they're probably right. Like, Pikmin 4 is so good. I've just started playing Octopath Traveler 2. My expectations weren't that high.
It's so good.
Because Octopath 1, good game. Not like a defining RPG game. It's a good game. 2, though, ramps up exponentially. It is
That's impressive.
Very easily a Game of the Year candidate.
I agree. It is a phenomenal game, and that soundtrack, Jesus, that soundtrack.
I'm finally playing through Prime Remastered. Yes, that's as good as everybody
Yes.
says. It looks just fantastic.
Such a good remaster. Yeah.
Yeah, just picking a Switch Game of the Year is rough, but you compare it to even like all the games that come out this year. Holy crap!
Yeah.
I mean, and of course, this is very tailored to specific taste. But I've put in over 60 hours on Theater Rhythm this year alone.
Easily.
And
Same.
the only reason it isn't more is probably because of Tears of the Kingdom, which I put even more hours into, just because that game is so ginormous. But like Theater Rhythm is a game that alone could maybe
It
carry.
might be one of my
2023
top
for me.
fives this year when we get to
Oh,
it.
it definitely is one of mine. I'll go ahead and
Yeah.
say that now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just 2023 has been such an amazing year, and I think one of the biggest points to take away from all this though is when you scroll through this whole document that we put together and we look at every year, the Switch has just had such a consistent life.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
not every year is
I-
created equally, of course.
And the
but
thing
man,
is, the year I'd look at and say is maybe the weakest is 2020, but that has a good reason.
Right. And like
Mm-hmm.
even though it was the COVID year, it wasn't bad.
No, there was still
No.
good stuff to play for sure, but like there's some amazing releases that year, but it also like has the game of the pandemic in there.
Right. Like that
but
changed
you know
the
what's
world.
so funny? Even by 2020 standards, yeah, maybe it's the worst year, but it also has some real bangers like Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory, Xenoblade Definitive Edition, but also the game that ended up being my favorite beat 'em up of all time to this day, which is Streets of Rage 4.
Yeah.
That's my favorite beat 'em up, and that's what came out this year.
And indie powerhouse Hades came out that year.
Hades.
Yes.
Yeah,
I did
Trials
not
of Mana
expect to
came out
love
this year.
Hades.
Hades is
I'm
so
typically
good.
not a roguelike guy, but Hades completely changed my mind. It is so good.
Yeah.
Heck,
Hades is
Pokemon fans
fantastic.
got a bone thrown to them with Mystery Dungeon.
Yeah.
Right, and we got, I mean, I know it's a little divisive. Personally, I consider it peak Paper Mario other than the battle system, Origami King.
It's a good
I think
game.
it's really good.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's good.
Everything except that battle system, I think, is excellent. And then you've got also a game that you guys know is near and dear to my heart, meant a lot to me. I will never forgive Nintendo for
I know you're
canceling
going
it.
with this.
Mario 35.
Yeah.
I put so much time into this game, and I so many hours lost to this game, and this is during the worst Switch year, right? So,
Right.
and the Trials of Mana remake came out this year, and that was a really good remake. It was like
Was it?
really well done. Yeah. Oh, it was.
I've actually played beyond the demo because that
it
voice
was
acting.
great.
The voice
no,
direction wasn't great, but the actual
Yeah, the voice-
game,
yeah.
very good.
No, I reviewed it back at the old place, and I really liked it. So,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, again, even the worst year is full of bangers. So, yeah, it's just so much good stuff across every year of Switch.
If someone said to me that Clubhouse Games was their favorite Switch game, I'd be like, yeah, cool. Why
Yeah.
not? It's a very high quality compilation of board games.
Oh, and you know what? One I missed for my own year that isn't in our in our list here. Omori came to Switch
Right, yeah.
in 2022. Thanks, IE Dragons, for the reminder in our live audience chat. But yeah, that's another one for 2022 that I didn't mention.
Yeah. All right,
And
Ash-
It Takes Two came out.
I
Yeah.
think
Right.
looking through these years, seeing all these games, many of them I don't own, still don't own. Like I don't have that. God, I can't own all these games. But this is the reason people want backwards compatibility for the next system because
Totally.
there's still so much to play from the Switch.
Yeah. Ash or Derek, could you post the poll in live audience? Now we've talked about every single year. We've told you our
Yes.
favorites. We've had a bit of a reflection of everything Switch has been. Hopefully, it's all fresh in your mind, and we can definitively decide which
I'm gonna pop it
is
in,
the best year.
Oh, we
Same
both did.
time.
At the
okay.
same time.
We'll
I
give
love
you
it.
guys a little bit of time to vote, and
Yeah.
we'll see where we land. All right, well, I guess we're going to call it there. So by a factor of 33%, 22% was the follow-up, which was 2022 and 2023. By 33%, 2021 is the Switch's definitive best year. Derek has won the debate. Jared, what would you say the best game of that year is, though?
Oh, Metroid Dread.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
not close, really, is it?
I'm obviously biased, but yeah,
Yeah.
easily Dread for me. I love that game. I think it
it's
is
hard.
by far just the best in the series at this point as well. Like it is so smooth and fun to control. The thing is, others can argue Monster Hunter Rise. I get it. There's a lot of good options in here, but yeah, just consistency wise, I think it is the best year, and Dread is just.
Yeah, there's so many cool games that year. I was there was a little Twitter fad where you put together like your favorite games ever, and I was considering what my favorite Metroid was, because before Dread it was always either Super or Zero Mission, but this time I was like, is Dread my favorite? And I just came to the conclusion like, yeah, this is my favorite Metroid and one of my favorite games ever.
I've played it 3 times. I beat it on Dread mode. It's just always fun.
Yeah, like the only shortcoming is the soundtrack isn't that memorable, but everything else, I think it makes it better than anything else in the series.
It is definitely one of my favorite Metroid games. I haven't decided that it actually is my favorite, but it is easily up there, top 2 for me. Maybe 3. It's just so hard because there's so many fantastic Metroid games.
Yeah,
but Dread is really up there.
Bad Metroid games.
No. Yeah, exactly. Man, this what a banger of a console, just in general.
Yeah.
Again, so consistent, so freaking consistent. And this is for a console that so many people decry even to this day as, woefully underpowered, and just it's in such dire need of an update. And that can be true, but man, for such an underpowered system, the fact that its life has been so consistent and we're still getting games even in 2023 that don't feel like they should be able to look and run as well as they do on a system that with the form factor of the Switch is pretty damn cool in my opinion.
Right, and the thing is, the Switch is not over. Like there is still time for more games. 2023 got quite a lot of votes in this, and we're barely we're just over halfway.
We might get more
through
announcements still.
Right, there's usually a September Direct. There's probably more stuff coming. But yeah, 2024 could even have a few games too. Like there's some level 5 games like Professor Layton and Fantasy Life that haven't got release dates yet. We know Prince of Persia's coming, so 2024 could be a banger too.
Still waiting on Prime 4 at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, our live audience, the way they voted in the poll just now says it all. 2023 is tied with 2022 for second place.
Yeah.
That says everything. 2021 won by a decent margin, but the fact that you got a year that isn't even done yet tied with 2022 for second place, that is its own argument right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Switch is a pretty cool system. That's what we've decided here. But 2021...
If you didn't already know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this just kind of goes against the consensus that 2017 is the definitive best year. Because I hear that so often. But I think we've kind of shown that other years have their strengths and may even be substantially better going by these poll results. Because 2017 only had 16% of the vote. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I'm actually, I'm pretty pleased by. I was a little worried that this was going to be a 2017 love fest.
Same.
No hate to 2017. Amazing, incredible banner year. But I just was like, but there are better years, I think, since. So I'm glad that none of us picked 2017. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But if you enjoyed this, you can join that box in the bottom right, which is our live audience. They've been watching this entire thing live. They've seen any mistakes we've made. They've seen it all. And they got to vote and decide ultimately what the best year was. And you can be one of them over on patreon.com/GVGaming. For just $5 a month, you can become a live audience member and join live discussions like this, as well as getting a bunch of other perks like early videos and sneak peeks at what we're making presently. So thank you so much for joining, everybody, and thank you to the Switch and Iwata for his last push. This was really what he was making before he ultimately left us, so thanks, Iwata.
Yeah, rest in peace, Iwata-san.